Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever noticed how some people wake up already defeated before the day even begins? Why do so many start their mornings with disappointment, while others seem to rise with purpose and power? What if the very first words you spoke each morning could transform the direction of your entire life? Most people stumble out of bed when the alarm rings, already feeling drained. They drag themselves to the mirror, thinking of what they lack, what they haven't achieved, and why today will be no different from yesterday. But extraordinary people, the ones who build remarkable lives, do something different. They take control of those first precious moments of consciousness, knowing that how you start your day isn't just important, it's everything. That's why today, I want to share with you 5 powerful statements. 5 things to say to yourself every single morning. If you make these part of your daily ritual, your life will begin to transform in ways you cannot yet imagine. The first is simple, just 3 words. I am responsible. At first glance, it may seem ordinary, but within those words lies the foundation of all success, growth, and achievement. The moment you declare, I am responsible, you make a powerful choice. You're deciding you are not a victim of circumstances. While you may not control everything that happens to you, you absolutely control how you respond. Most people waste their lives in blame. The economy, the government, their boss, their spouse, their parents. There's always something or someone to fault. But the truth is, as long as you blame, you surrender your power. The moment you wake up and claim responsibility, everything begins to change. When you say, I am responsible, you're taking your power back. You're declaring, this is my life, and I am the architect of my destiny. I remember meeting a gentleman years ago who had lost everything in a business failure. His home, his savings, even his reputation. He told me, Jim, I spent 6 months blaming my partner, the market, and the bank. And during those 6 months, I was the most miserable man on earth. But then one morning, he looked in the mirror and said, I am responsible. That moment marked the beginning of his new life. 3 years later, he had built a business twice as successful as the one he had lost. Why? Because he chose responsibility. So tomorrow morning, let those be the first words out of your mouth. I am responsible. Say it with conviction. Say it like you mean it. You are responsible for your actions, your reactions, your successes, and your failures. You are responsible for the quality of your life. The second statement is this: something wonderful is about to happen. Some may dismiss this as wishful thinking, but I call it setting a powerful expectation. What you expect often becomes reality. If you wake up expecting problems, you'll find problems. Your mind is like a heat-seeking missile. It will always find evidence to support what you program it to look for. But when you say, something wonderful is about to happen, you're training your mind to search for opportunities, possibilities, and potential breakthroughs. Problems will still come, of course, that's life. But starting your day with this expectation gives you a different spirit, a different energy. I once knew a saleswoman who practiced this every morning before making her calls. She told me, some days the wonderful thing is a big commission. Other days, it's a new contact that pays off later. And some days, it's simply the lesson I gained from rejection. But every day, there's always something. That saleswoman went from being an average performer to setting company records in less than a year. Nothing else changed, except her expectation that something wonderful was about to happen. So tomorrow morning, after you've taken responsibility, look in the mirror and say with genuine anticipation, something wonderful is about to happen. Then watch how your mind begins working to make it so. The third statement is this: I have all that I need to succeed today. This is the antidote to the disease of if only thinking that plagues so many. If only I had more time. If only I had more money. If only I had better connections or more education. The truth is, most of us already have what we need to take the next step. We just fail to see it because we're too focused on what we lack. When you declare, I have all that I need to succeed today, you shift your focus from scarcity to abundance. You remind yourself that success rarely comes from a dramatic change in circumstances, but from making the most of what you already have. I once met 2 young entrepreneurs with nearly identical business ideas, education, and market opportunities. One kept complaining he needed more capital before he could move forward. The other said, "I have all I need to succeed today," and focused on using his resources, building relationships, and delivering exceptional value. A year later, the first was still talking about what he lacked. The second had built a thriving business generating enough profit to fund its own growth. The difference wasn't resources, it was resourcefulness. And resourcefulness begins with the belief that you already have what you need to take the next step. So tomorrow morning, look in the mirror and affirm, "I have all that I need to succeed today." Then ask yourself, what resources am I not fully using? What strengths, skills, relationships, or opportunities am I overlooking? The fourth statement is, I will focus on progress, not perfection. Perfectionism has crushed more dreams than failure ever has. The person who insists conditions must be perfect before acting is the person who never acts at all. When you say, "I will focus on progress, not perfection," you give yourself permission to begin, right where you are, with what you have. You acknowledge that the path to any worthy goal isn't a single giant leap, but a series of small, consistent steps. I had a friend who wanted to write a book for years. He had the concept, the outline, and the passion, but never wrote a single word. Why? Because in his mind, he needed the perfect environment, the perfect schedule, the perfect mood. One day I suggested a shift. Instead of aiming for the perfect book, just write a single page, imperfect as it might be. He took that advice. That first imperfect page led to another and another. 6 months later, he had a finished manuscript. Was it perfect? No, but it was done. And a completed imperfect book is infinitely more valuable than a perfect book that exists only in imagination. That's the power of focusing on progress rather than perfection. It gets you moving, and once you're in motion, you can make adjustments along the way. So tomorrow morning, look in the mirror and say, "Today I will focus on progress, not perfection." Then ask yourself, what's one small step I can take today toward my most important goal? Take that step, however imperfect it may be. The fifth statement is this: I choose gratitude. Of all the things you can say to yourself each morning, this may be the most transformative. Notice I didn't say, "I feel grateful." Feelings rise and fall, influenced by circumstances, health, or countless variables outside your control. But gratitude is a choice. It means deciding, no matter what's happening around or to you, that you will focus on what's good in your life. This isn't denial. It's recognizing that even in the midst of hardship, there are still things worthy of gratitude. And what you focus on expands. I once met a woman who had endured more hardship than most could imagine. She had lost her husband, her home, and her health within just 2 years. When I asked how she maintained her spirit, she told me, "Every morning I say to myself, I choose gratitude. Then I name 5 specific things I'm thankful for before I get out of bed. Sometimes they're big, like my children. Other times they're simple, like the warmth of my blanket or the..." Sometimes her list included something as simple as the sound of birds outside her window. But she always found 5 things. That daily practice of chosen gratitude kept her from bitterness, self-pity, and giving up. It kept her heart open to the good that still remained in her life. So tomorrow morning, say to yourself with conviction, "I choose gratitude." Then identify 5 specific things you're grateful for. Speak them out loud. Feel the gratitude in your body. Let it fill you before your day even begins. Now let's review the 5 statements. I am responsible. Something wonderful is about to happen. I have all that I need to succeed today. I will focus on progress, not perfection. And I choose gratitude. They may sound simple, and they are, but don't confuse simplicity with lack of power. The most transformative truths are often the simplest. Their power doesn't come from complexity, but from consistent practice. These statements are not magic incantations. Simply repeating words without conviction won't change your life. You must speak them like you mean them. Let them sink from your lips to your mind, to your heart. Let them shape not only your morning, but also your choices throughout the day. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Making this morning ritual of self-talk a habit is an act of discipline. At first, it may feel awkward. You may forget or doubt whether it's working. But if you persist, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, these statements will rewire the way you think. And when you change your thinking, you change your actions. Change your actions, and you change your results. These 5 statements aren't just about feeling better. They're about performing better, creating the mental and emotional conditions for wiser decisions, more effective actions, and superior results. Consider the difference between two salespeople making cold calls. The first wakes up dreading the day, expecting rejection, doubting their ability, and feeling like they lack what's needed to succeed. The second wakes up declaring, "I am responsible. Something wonderful is about to happen. I have all that I need. I will focus on progress, not perfection. I choose gratitude for this opportunity." Which one do you think will make better calls? Which one will push through rejection? Which one will recognize and seize opportunities? Which salesperson ends the day with better results? The answer is obvious. The second created an internal environment for success. Not by denying reality, but by focusing on the parts of reality that empower rather than weaken them. Here's a little secret. These 5 morning statements are not just for beginners. They're not training wheels you eventually outgrow. I've been in business for decades, achieving levels of success that once seemed impossible, and yet every morning I still repeat these affirmations. Why? Because success is not a destination you reach once and then stop. It's a state that must be maintained. And the same practices that create success are the ones that sustain it. Some of the most successful people I know, leaders who built empires, influenced thousands, and achieved extraordinary things, still begin each day with affirmations like these. They understand that no matter how far you've come, the foundation of continued success is daily choices, starting with how you speak to yourself. And let's circle back to one critical point: consistency. The power of these 5 statements doesn't come from saying them once in a while. Their power lies in saying them every morning, whether you feel like it or not, until they become as natural as brushing your teeth. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. The small discipline of taking a few minutes each morning to direct your mind toward empowerment weighs little, but the regret of living below your potential because you never mastered your inner dialogue, that weighs a lifetime. I'm often asked about the difference between successful and unsuccessful people. There are many, but one of the most significant is this: successful people manage their internal state, regardless of external circumstances. And it almost always begins with how they start their day. The unsuccessful person wakes up and immediately checks their phone, flooding their mind with other people's priorities, problems, and emergencies. From that moment on, they live in reaction mode, responding to life instead of creating it. The successful person, by contrast, begins with intention. They use those first precious minutes of consciousness to set their mental and emotional compass. They speak to themselves with power, with purpose, with expectation. And from that foundation, they engage with the world proactively rather than reactively. Which approach do you think produces better results? Let me share a personal story. Years ago, I faced a particularly difficult season in my business. The economy had taken a downturn, clients were cutting back, and the pressure was intense. For several weeks, I woke up each morning with a knot in my stomach, immediately thinking about all the problems waiting for me. And those weeks turned out to be some of the least productive of my career. The more I focused on the problems, the larger they seemed. The more I worried about what might go wrong, the less creative I became in finding solutions. Then one morning, I remembered something I had taught others for years, but had forgotten myself. I sat up in bed and said aloud, "I am responsible for how I respond to this situation. Something wonderful is going to happen today, perhaps an insight, perhaps an opportunity. I have everything I need to take the next step. I will focus on progress, not perfection. And I choose gratitude for the lessons this challenge is teaching me." Did that instantly solve all my business problems? Of course not, but it completely changed how I approached them. It put me back in a creative, resourceful state rather than a fearful, reactive one. From that mindset, I began to see possibilities I hadn't noticed before. Within 2 weeks, I restructured parts of my business, reconnected with past clients with a new proposition, and developed an offering that became even more successful than what I had before the downturn. The circumstances hadn't changed, but I had changed how I met those circumstances. And that made all the difference. Now, let me address something important. Some of you may be thinking, "Jim, this sounds like just another version of positive thinking. I've tried that before, and it doesn't work." But what I'm talking about goes much deeper than the surface level of positive thinking. I'm not suggesting you deny reality or pretend challenges don't exist. I'm not asking you to plaster a smile on your face while ignoring real problems that need attention. What I am suggesting is that you consciously choose where to place your focus and how to frame your circumstances. And that's exactly what these 5 morning statements help you do. I am responsible isn't just positive thinking, it's accurate thinking. It's the recognition that while you can't control everything that happens, you absolutely control how you respond. Something wonderful is about to happen doesn't deny difficulties. It's the decision to stay open to possibilities, even in the middle of challenges. I have all that I need to succeed today isn't about ignoring legitimate needs. It's about maximizing what you already have instead of being paralyzed by what you lack. I will focus on progress, not perfection, isn't lowering your standards. It's acknowledging that every meaningful achievement comes through consistent, incremental improvement. And I choose gratitude doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing to see and appreciate the good that exists alongside the struggles. This isn't shallow positive thinking, it's strategic thinking. It's the discipline of directing your mind toward empowerment rather than discouragement. But let me be clear, these 5 morning statements are not a substitute for action. They are the preparation for more effective action. They put you in the right state to make better decisions, persist through obstacles, notice opportunities, and ultimately produce stronger results. But the work still has to be done. You still need to make the calls, have the conversations, solve the problems, and take the risks. No amount of self-talk can replace consistent discipline and follow through. The point is simple. How you speak to yourself sets the state from which you act. And your state, your mental and emotional condition, has a massive impact on how effective those actions will be. When you act from a place of fear or self-doubt, how well does it really work? Your voice loses conviction, your thinking becomes clouded, and your creativity stalls. But when you approach the same calls with confidence, expectation, and resourcefulness, everything shifts. Your voice carries authority, your thoughts are sharp, your creativity flows, and the results clearly reflect that difference. This is why these 5 morning statements matter so much. They help you create an internal state that supports success, no matter what's happening around you. Over the years, I've noticed something. Most people underestimate the power of their inner dialogue on their outer results. They spend enormous energy trying to change circumstances while neglecting the very thoughts and beliefs that shape those circumstances. It's like trying to grow a garden without caring for the soil. You can plant the best seeds, but if the soil is poor, the outcome will always disappoint. Your internal dialogue is that soil. When you wake up saying, "This is going to be a terrible day, I don't have what I need, everything's against me," you're planting in barren ground. But when you begin with, "I am responsible, something wonderful is about to happen. I have all that I need to succeed today. I will focus on progress, not perfection. I choose gratitude," you create rich, fertile soil where success can flourish. And here's the beauty, it costs nothing. It requires no special talent, no outside resources. It's available to anyone willing to discipline their mind for just a few minutes each morning. That brings me to a critical point. This is a practice you can start immediately. Not next month, not next week, tomorrow morning. The moment your eyes open, say these 5 statements with conviction before doing anything else. Write them down, keep them on your nightstand, or tape them to your bathroom mirror, whatever it takes until they become second nature. And if you forget, if you slip into old patterns of negative self-talk, don't be harsh with yourself. Simply notice it, reset, and recommit. Say the words whenever you remember, morning, noon, or night, and return to them again the next day. Remember, what you're building here is a habit. And like any habit, consistency is the key. Like any new habit, it takes repetition before it feels automatic. Be patient with yourself, but stay persistent. The rewards of this simple practice are too valuable to lose over a few missed days. Now, take a moment and imagine your life 6 months from today if you consistently began each morning with these 5 statements. How different would your outlook be? How much stronger would your energy feel? And what new results might you create? Picture waking up with a sense of personal power instead of dread. Picture facing challenges with resourcefulness rather than resignation. Picture spotting opportunities where others only see obstacles. That's the power of taking control of your inner dialogue. And it all begins with 5 simple statements spoken with conviction each morning. Over the years, I've taught these principles to countless people who have transformed their lives through this practice. Of course, I've also heard every objection. "Jim, You don't understand my circumstances. Positive self-talk can't pay my bills. You must have been born optimistic. It's not that easy for everyone. And I understand those doubts. But here's what I've seen. The people who embrace this practice despite their objections are the very ones who change their circumstances. They find ways to pay the bills. They build optimism, not from natural temperament, but from lived experience. Why? Because how you speak to yourself doesn't just shift how you feel, it changes what you do. And what you do consistently over time changes everything else. So, let me challenge you. Try this for 30 days. Every morning, speak these 5 statements with genuine conviction. Then watch the difference, not only in your mood, but in your actions, your persistence, your decisions, and ultimately, your results. As I promised at the beginning, if you make these 5 declarations part of your morning ritual, your life will begin to transform in ways you can hardly imagine. Not because the words are magic, but because they shape how you show up in the world. And how you show up determines what you achieve. I am responsible. Something wonderful is about to happen. I have all that I need to succeed today. I will focus on progress, not perfection. I choose gratitude. 5 simple statements. 5 powerful truths. 5 keys to unlocking your potential each day. The choice is always yours. Wake up to the same old patterns, or wake up to intention and empowerment. That choice puts you in control of your day. Remember, your life is shaped by the small decisions you make daily, beginning with how you choose to speak to yourself in those first precious moments of consciousness. Choose wisely, my friends. Choose words that empower rather than weaken you. Words that open doors rather than close them. Words that align with who you want to become, not just who you've been. As Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Guard those thoughts, beginning with these 5 morning statements, and watch your life transform before your very eyes. When I think about the power of self-talk, I'm reminded of an old Cherokee legend. A grandfather tells his grandson, "A fight is going on inside me. It's a terrible battle between 2 wolves. One is evil, anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, resentment, lies, and ego. The other is good, joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The same fight is going on inside you, and inside every person too. The grandson thought for a moment and then asked, "Which wolf will win?" The old man simply replied, "The one you feed." Every morning, when you wake up and speak to yourself, you are feeding one of those wolves. These 5 statements, I am responsible. Something wonderful is about to happen. I have all that I need to succeed today. I will focus on progress, not perfection. I choose gratitude. They feed the wolf of empowerment, growth, resourcefulness, and appreciation. That's the wolf you want to win the battle for your mind and your life. So tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, remember to feed the right wolf. Speak these words with conviction. Let them sink deep into your mind and heart. Allow them to shape not only your morning, but your entire day. Do this consistently, and I promise, your life will never be the same. Thank you for listening. Wishing you good health, lasting happiness, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.